The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman as we continue our conversation with Michael Moore, the Academy Award-winning filmmaker. His latest film, an October surprise, it's called Michael Moore in TrumpLand. I asked him if he's ever met Republican presidential hopeful Donald Trump.
I've only met him once, back in 1998, and I think it was a little clip of that in the trailer there, where I was on a talk show with him. And
whose talk show?
Roseanne Barr. After her series was over, for 2 years, had an afternoon talk show. And she came to New York for a week at Tavern in the Green, and she invited me to come on, and I get there, and Donald Trump's the other guest. And the producer comes over to me and says, I'm really sorry, but Mr. Trump is very nervous about you being on the show, and he's afraid you're going to attack him. And I said, let me talk to him. You know, he's sitting over the corner over there. I'll go talk to him. So I go over and I introduce myself, Mr. Trump, I'm Michael Moore. You know, I understand you're a little worried. There's nothing to worry about. You know, and this is 98, so I don't know that much about Trump, right? You know, I know he's built some buildings. I said, there's no reason to be, we're here to have some fun with Roseanne. You don't have to worry. And I'm shaking his hand, and it's all clammy. I mean, the guy is like so nervous. And I'm like, you know, so I think my job is I got to calm him down. We're going to be fine. We'll go out on the couch. We'll have some fun. I'm trying to help the producer out, right? So he won't, because they're afraid he's going to walk. And he goes, no, it's just that, you know, I just don't want to go out there and, like, you know, because, you know, I said, don't, it's not that kind of show. Don't worry, it's okay. And so we go out on the show, and again, I don't go after him on anything. I just leave him alone, you know, and when it was over, and I didn't think this until actually this past year, where I thought, that guy is good, man. I got played. He got me to not bring up any of his crap there on that show, because I felt sorry for him. And I thought, this guy is good. This guy didn't get to where he got by being stupid. He is not stupid. And I thought he got me to not say anything political, do anything political, and just have a little laugh fest on the couch there on the Roseanne show. Now,
when you made this, it was right around the time the women were coming forward saying he assaulted them. Right? It was
movie,
just
the new
breaking.
One right now. Yes, yeah. Oh, yes. Actually, that performance that you see in the film is literally 4 hours after the Billy Bush tape is revealed. So I have just watched this tape. I haven't heard any of the pundits or anything. I've just watched the tape, and now I'm going to go out on the stage. So when you see the film, there's a portion of the film where I talk about women of Hillary's age and women of that generation who grew up in essentially the first feminists of the modern feminist era in the 60s and early 70s, and what they went through to be feminists and the crap that they had to take as a result of that. And so I now when I watch the film, I know what's playing in my head is I just had watched this god-awful conversation that Trump was having with Billy Bush. And it was so vile and so, you know, I mean, let's be honest. There's nothing he said on that tape that was surprising that, you know, oh, I can't believe Donald Trump said these things, you know. No. And I wasn't surprised by Billy Bush, W's first cousin, right? That he was actually trying to pimp Trump out there when they got it was just awful. You know, it was like somebody last year went to Dr. Frankenstein and said, listen, we want to create a candidate that embodies all the worst traits of men, rich people, and white people. And put them all into one candidate. And then here we have Donald J. Trump. But anyway, so I'm thinking, if you go back and watch that tape, okay, we know the vile comments, we know the attitude, we know now he's a confessed sexual predator. But it's when he tries to get off the bus. He goes down, he doesn't know how to get off the bus. He knocks, look at the tape, he knocks on the door of the bus. And I went, oh my God, this is the first time in his life he's ever been on a bus. This man has never ridden the bus. Right there, that should be a disqualifier for being president of the United States. No president, we should never elect anybody who's never ridden on a friggin' bus. So it was just the whole thing. And then I went out on the stage and performed and filmed this piece.
Well, let's go in a different direction to the part of Michael Moore in TrumpLand where you talk about Beyonce's halftime performance at the Super Bowl.
I predict anthropologists, they will note the moment it happened when it was clear the men were on the way out and the women were on their way in, and it was the Super Bowl this past year. You know, it's the halftime show. Coldplay is playing one of their nice songs. Oh, I love you, and and then Bruno Mars came on, and then that sort of confused a lot of guys watching the halftime show. Ooh, what is this? And then all of a sudden, right in the middle of Bruno's song, out comes Beyonce and 500 women in these uniforms with their fists clenched and raised and their kicking boots on, taking the field. No, it's like, oh my, wait, that's our game. What's she doing here? That's where we're ending up. And guys know it, and that's why they're at the Trump rallies. That's why you hear that sound. Donald, save us! The women are coming!
Michael, what was the response in the audience?
It was well received, even by the guys, even because the guys know it. The guys, listen, this isn't a new thing where women are in charge, or that women are, I mean, we gradually now, 20% of our Congress is female. So the majority gender now has 20% of the power, even though they are 51% of the population. So, but men have had to get used to this, I think, after a while. But some of the guys are having a very hard time with it. And even Obama referenced them a couple days ago, where, he said, guys, I know this is something you're not used to, a woman in the White House, 240 years, we've done it one way. So sometimes it's, people are a little nervous about change, and they're used to, they want it a certain way. But you know what? These guys who have a problem with Hillary, with women in general, they're going to have to get over it. Just like when you and I were growing up, I remember my parents taking me on a trip through the South, and I saw signs that said whites only and colored only and all that. And then there was a law, and they had to take the signs down, and things changed. Racism didn't go away, but the proponents of it and the people that held power with these attitudes either had to change or move out of the way, because a new generation was coming up. That's what's so great about this generation now, young people 18 to 35, the Bernie revolution, is that they are the ones in charge now, and they're going to be in charge. And I'm very optimistic about this because every year, 3 million 17-year-olds turn 18, which means they're voters. And in these next 4 years, before the next presidential election, there's going to be 12 million more young voters. And they're not haters. I mean, the majority of these young people that's why they're driving this whole thing. It's why we have a different society now that is not so hateful to gay people and to people of color, and that doesn't mean that it's gone away, but it's better because we have young people now, steering the car a little bit here.
Do you think if the media had given as much time to Bernie Sanders as they did to Donald Trump, had given as much time to Bernie Sanders as they did to the empty podium when they were waiting for Donald Trump for all the months of the primary, had played a few of Bernie's speeches? I mean, he was getting more people to his speeches without the help of the media megaphone than even Donald Trump was, and certainly Hillary Clinton was. And you see how far Bernie went. Do you think it is possible that it would have been very different since they both represented something outside the system?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I mean, my hope was that on Tuesday we would have the great decision, the choice between the socialist and the billionaire. I mean, that...
You think he is a billionaire?
Well, he likes to call himself that, and sometimes you have to humor people that think they have things they don't have. So yes, I'll let him, out of respect for him as a human being. No, I think, listen, oh my God, I mean, of course I worked very hard for Bernie. I went up to Burlington and campaigned for him in 1990 when he first won for Congress. I was the only quasi-known person at that time who would go up there and campaign for him. And so I've known him a long time, and man, we won 22 states in the primaries and the caucuses this year. I tell fellow Bernie voters, hey, I know we're all kind of bummed about this, and the DNC cheaters. you know, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you know, there will be more that will come out. We're going to learn a lot more on what they did to him. But we'll set that aside for a moment and just like, we got to feel some joy and celebrate what we accomplished. 22 states in our lifetime voted for a socialist. That was just an amazing thing to have happen. And then the candidate who gets nominated, Hillary Clinton, she adopts over 2/3 of his platform as part of her. As well, she puts it in her own words in terms of raising the minimum wage. She doesn't say, you know, free college. She says debt-free college. You know, go down the list of things, though, in terms of paid maternity leave, women being paid the same as men, all these issues that we care about. We didn't get everything that we wanted, but we got a lot. Listen, I mean, 1988, I worked for Jesse Jackson when he ran for president. And he won the Michigan primary. He won a lot of primaries. People forget this. But Dukakis was the nominee. How much of Jesse's platform did Dukakis put in as part of his? Nah, I don't remember anything. So we were able to move the ball down the field. Hillary didn't go. She didn't become more conservative as a Democrat. She became more liberal.
She was running in the primary.
Yes, and now she's not going to win without us on Tuesday. That's the bottom line. And she's not going to win without young people. Because here's one thing that we know now. We know how African Americans are going to vote. We know how Hispanics are going to vote.
Are you concerned polls say
women are going to vote?
Not as many African Americans are going out in early voting as was expected?
That's why today Hillary Clinton is going to Detroit when she shouldn't have to go there, but she has to go there because in Detroit, one of the polls I read from Detroit is that she lost 11 points of African American voters in Detroit. Not that they're going to Trump, but just they're probably not going to vote. Yes, there's a huge fire siren going off in the Clinton campaign because, once again, they've ignored certain constituencies that they shouldn't have ignored. And they took it for granted, and they treated Bernie very poorly during the primaries about somehow she was for African Americans and he wasn't, or, his whole history from the time he was in college getting arrested at civil rights demonstrations, and when she, in her freshman year, she's the head of the college Republicans. So I felt bad for him that he just had to suffer through all those things he did as a young person to stand up, when it wasn't popular in 1963 to stand up for certain things.
Let's go to another clip of Michael Moore in TrumpLand. This one's about Hillary Clinton.
I got a surprise for you tonight.
Someone from the Trump campaign has leaked us a copy of their new ad.
The diseases. She's had them all. Pneumonia, hypothyroidism, allergies, yeast infection, urinary tract discomfort, pregnancy, childbirth, time of month disorder, bleeding from wherever disease, and menopause. Do you want a commander-in-chief whose lady parts are out of control? Or do you want a fit, buff leader who will be the healthiest president ever? Ever! Even healthier than Teddy Roosevelt, and he was shot in the chest. Yes, there's only one candidate this year healthy enough to spawn an entire new breed of humans. Vote Trump. He never gets sick.
Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
Now that's sick.
I'm Donald Trump, and I so approve this message.
Effective. I think he's going to do really well.
Michael Moore.
Yeah, I was elected class comic when I was a senior in high school. I've used it well, I hope.
But he's doing much better than you might have thought, right? Especially now, even since you gave these speeches in Ohio.
Well, yes. I mean, I've said since the summer people should take him seriously. I said a year and a half ago when he announced this is going to be the Republican nominee for president. It's probably because I watch a lot of TV. So I'm one of the few people on the left that actually watched Celebrity Apprentice. I watch American Idol, but I know how Americans are. When it comes to voting, everybody thinks Jennifer Hudson won American Idol. She didn't. Fantasia won. People who remembers Fantasia now, right? But this is what can happen when Americans vote. I watched The Bachelorette last year. Caitlyn, everybody thought she was going to go for Nick and said she went for Sean. I'm just saying, stuff can happen in this country.
And in elections, the surprises that you've lived in your lifetime.
I was stunned that a B actor whose co-star was a chimpanzee could get elected president twice. He was called Tricky Dick before he was elected twice. Then W, you know, who wasn't elected.
Well, wait, first you're talking about Ronald Reagan, then you're talking about Richard Nixon.
Yes, for those who've had their head in the sand for 3 decades.
Or were just recently born.
Or were just, yes, okay, that's true, young people. Yes, these were actual presidents that were elected. And then this guy named George W. Bush, who during one of the debates when he was asked who the president of Pakistan was, he went, General. That's, remember this? It was like, we elected that guy. Well, once we elected him. The other time he wasn't elected. But no, anything can happen in this country. And it can happen in ways you don't, I mean, Minnesota, I consider that, you've traveled, right, the country. It's one of the smarter states, you know? There's like what I call the smart states, you know, Oregon.
I just came back from North Dakota.
That's a wonderful state. Actually, anything that sort of borders or is near Canada, you know, there's something, I don't know, there's something that comes down that people have I'm just saying that in Minnesota, if you remember, they elected a professional wrestler as their governor. Can Donald J. Trump be elected in this country as president of the United States? Absolutely. And I don't believe the polls. On election day, on primary day back in March in my state, in Michigan, that morning, I turned on the TV. All the national polls had Hillary beating Bernie by anywhere from 8 to 22 points. 12 hours later, Bernie defeated her. Ever since then, I've said, man, these polls, I don't trust it. Do not trust it. And I think they're probably undercounting the Trump support.
Because aren't they counting people who voted in the last election, the most likely voters?
Yes.
And a lot of people who are outside the system don't vote when they're disenchanted.
That's right. And the disenchanted, the angry voter is coming out next Tuesday. And where I live, you know, usually the election's the first week of November. This is the second Tuesday of November. It's a rare second Tuesday election. And the second week of November in Michigan, it's called winter. The chance of there being 2 feet of snow in Ohio or Pennsylvania or Michigan or Wisconsin is great. And what that means is a low voter turnout. It's already going to be low because people are fed up with the choices, right? So we're already going to have a low turnout. Who wins in a low voter turnout, Amy? You know, the person who has the most rabid supporters. I would not call the supporters of Hillary Clinton rabid. You know, people, if you ask people they're voting like out there, it's out there. I was talking to one of the people in your office. So who are you thinking of voting for? Yeah, I'm going to vote for Hillary. I said, wow, there's a ringing endorsement. Wow, I'm going to vote for Hillary. You know, the support for her seems to go from, yeah, I'm voting for Hillary, all the way to, yeah, screw it, I'm voting for Hillary. You know, it's like,
well,
we're going to win with that?
You take a very different tack, and let's go to yet another clip from Michael Moore in TrumpLand, where you address concerns about Hillary Clinton's, well, lack of trustworthiness.
Yes.
What are the other knocks on Hillary? Not trustworthy, right? We hear that a lot. She's not trustworthy. How did she prove her distrustworthiness to you? Did she promise to water the plants for you while you were gone and then didn't? No, I'm not talking about differences. I mean, you say, well, she flip-flops or whatever. Well, everybody changes. Everybody evolves. I hope they do, right? We want our Trump voter friends in here tonight. We were asking them to maybe change. If you just stay in cement, it's like, okay, so she's learned. She fought gay marriage, and then she was for it. Well, I'd rather that than staying against gay marriage. I don't think that's a bad thing. She said her Iraq war vote was wrong. She's never done anything more wrong than that. Okay, it's not exactly I'm sorry, but that's pretty okay. She's a politician. I accept that. What else? What else? What are the other knocks on Hillary? Benghazi. Okay, Benghazi, yes. She got up in the middle of the night and personally planned with ISIS, which she and Obama created. According to Trump, they invented ISIS. And they planned this attack to kill our people there at the consulate in Benghazi.
Cleared 6 times.
Oh, she's been cleared of the charges 6 times. That's not enough. You have to be, if you're Hillary Clinton, you have to be cleared 8 times.
Clinton Foundation.
Oh, the Clinton Foundation. Well, thank God there's a Clinton Foundation. Look at all the good they've done. You know? I mean, And if what they say is true, and so they get to have a meeting with Hillary, and what's their meeting? She's still Hillary Clinton. It's not like they get to go in there and say, I need you to bomb, I need you to bomb Yemen. Okay, how much did you give the Clinton Foundation? I gave the Clinton Foundation $50 million. Call in the airstrikes. That's not what's going on.
Michael Moore in TrumpLand. So do you think you reach the people who you want to make not just don't want Trump, but want to be enthusiastic about Hillary?
Yeah, this is not a film that is spending an hour and a half bashing Trump. There's nothing more I need to say about Trump. You already know everything about him. I did want to say why I'm going to vote for her, and I've never voted for her. I have huge political disagreements with her, the obvious ones, the war, too cozy with Wall Street, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, there are also these things about her that I think are pretty decent and good, and they never get talked about. And, you know, no person is just one way. And you know, one of my hopes, and I address Hillary directly into camera during the piece here, hoping she'll see this, because I want to tell her that we're hoping that she will be something better than what we've seen in the past. And I'm hoping that that is what will happen. Now, I may be a cockeyed optimist here. I am fully aware she's a politician, and she's a Clinton, and all of that. But I also, there's too much at stake here at this point. And look, we live in a country, Canada has 5 political parties for 34 million people. We have two parties that are treated like parties. We need to have 3 and 4 and 5 political parties that to represent the broad spectrum of political thought amongst 320 million people. We have to fix this system, and we have to commit to doing that. We say this every 4 years, and then we forget about it, and then we get, you know, 2 more choices, and what I used to call the evil of 2 lessers. And we're all tired of this, and I think we need to fix this. We can't fix it by Tuesday. So I think I'm willing to accept that we had a decent enough victory with where we brought the country with Bernie Sanders and what he had to say and how people took to it. We're going to build on that. The Bernie revolution will continue. And I think that, you know, we're not being asked to vote for Margaret Thatcher here. All right. I mean, we're not being asked to vote for Sandra Day O'Connor or Clarence Thomas or whoever the first or the token is that's presented to us is always just some awful choice. You know, she's not that. And in fact, I think she stood for a lot of good. And in the movie, I tell the story about with healthcare, what she tried to do back in the 90s.
Academy Award-winning filmmaker Michael Moore, his new film, Michael Moore in TrumpLand. We'll come back to our conversation in a minute.